Well, it's week 5. Welcome. I thought I'd go over the readings this week, the Angela Grimke, the Virginia Woolf, and the Brent Staples, simply because these are really disparate essays and really powerful, but they also have a very common thread. And Angela Grimke, man, she was from a family of a plantation owner, a major slaveholding family, and was sent to Philadelphia with her sister and exposed to Quakerism, and they were some of the first abolitionists, and she converted to Quakerism and became an abolitionist herself. And this is a really powerful essay, no? When she's giving this speech to this group of women, and there's a mob outside breaking windows as she's speaking, and she is weaving this energy of hate into her speech. It's really something special. And then that's in 1835. And then we go to Virginia Woolf in 1927 and her evaluation of the intellectual status of the woman from Elizabethan times and on to today. And really one of the first major feminist works that she wrote, that she organized. And this is after much of her fiction has been published, and she has her own publication, her own publishing house. And then we go to 1987, and Brent Staples, the journalist, and he is experiencing racism. And to see this sort of spool of oppression over 150 years, to women, to African Americans, to women, and again in what we would consider modern America, it's profound, no? Okay, so I thought I'd read just the beginning of Angela Grimke on page 118. Deluded beings, they know not what they do, and she's quoting Luke there. They know not that they are undermining their own rights and their own happiness, temporal and eternal. And there she's talking of the oppressors, right? She's talking of slaveholders, or really these are Northerners. These are people who are supposed to be against slavery in 1830. Not many are. And then we go to her evaluation of the resistance. Now here's the thing. She's really looking at the mob outside. That's really what her focus is a lot in this essay. Just as in Virginia Woolf's essay, she's looking at not only herself, the woman, but she's also looking at men's need for superiority. She says that the narrative of men's resistance to the emancipation of women is a richer narrative. And Brent Staples takes a look at that woman who runs away from him, and takes a look at the statistics that women are vulnerable, and that black men are often the criminals. And he gives credence to really what the opposition is, and all three of these essays do, and I think that's important. Having an awareness of these, whatever the opposition is in your essay. I don't know if there's going to be a distinct one or a vague one, but giving space to that it exists. Okay. How wonderfully constituted is the human mind, how it resists, as long as it can, all efforts made to reclaim from error. I feel that all disturbance is but an evidence that our efforts are the best that could have been adopted, or else the friends of slavery would not care for what we say and do. So she's saying here, I feel that all this disturbance, and she's talking about the uproar outside the hall, that's intense, is but an evidence that our efforts are the best that could have been adopted, or else the friends of slavery would not care for what we say and do. So they know that we are right, and that's why they're angry. Okay. Virginia Woolf. Talking of fiction. Ooh, my favorite. For fiction, imaginative work that is not dropped like a pebble upon the ground, as science may be. Fiction is like a spider's web, attached ever so lightly perhaps, but still attached to life at all four corners. Often the attachment is scarcely perceptible. Shakespeare's plays, for instance, seem to hang there complete by themselves. But when the web is pulled askew, hooked up at the edge, torn in the middle, one remembers that these webs are not spun in mid-air by incorporeal creatures, but are the work of suffering human beings, and are attached to grossly material things, like health and money and the houses we live in. Now, the frame is the role of the woman, or the absence of the role of the woman in the world of art. But she also discusses the challenges that artists face who are not female. Generally, and I think this is going to be really helpful as you write your essays and you try to create a space, a room of one's own, right? And I know a lot of you share a room with 3 other people, but to create a space to create in the privacy, the solitude that we need. Generally, material circumstances are against it. Dogs will bark, people will interrupt, money must be made, health will break down. Further, accentuating all these differences and making them harder to bear is the world's notorious indifference. It does not ask people to write poems and novels and histories. It does not need them. It does not care whether Flaubert finds the right word. So that indifference, the world's indifference to our artwork, I think that it's not only the female that is marginalized, it's the artist that's marginalized. And I think that when we bear witness to a specific experience, we will bear witness to a social injustice, a systematic injustice. And I have a lot of my students pick the creativity essay, the creativity definition to define, and the identity definition. But no one really explores the social responsibility. And I think that might be an interesting task if you were to look at creativity and social responsibility. And I know that the essay prompt asks you to focus on one term, but perhaps you can't do that. Perhaps you cannot define identity with your particular identity, your exposure to the word identity without social responsibility, without diversity, without creativity. Yeah. And so Brent Staples, the third of the 3 essays I asked you to read. Now, he's talking about the first time that a woman ran away from him on the street. My first victim was a woman, white, well-dressed, probably in her early 20s. I came upon her late one evening on a deserted street in Hyde Park, a relatively affluent neighborhood in an otherwise mean, impoverished section of Chicago. To her, the youngish black man, a broad 6 feet 2 inches with a beard and billowing hair, both hands shoved into the pockets of a bulky military jacket, seemed menacingly close. After a few more quick glimpses, she picked up her pace and was soon running in earnest. Within seconds, she disappeared into a cross street. Now, he goes into examples of being mistaken for a criminal when he is attempting to turn in a story for a paper that he's working for. Drivers locking their doors when he's at a stoplight. And he ends the essay with, virtually everybody seems to sense that a mugger wouldn't be warbling bright, sunny selections from Vivaldi's Four Seasons. And remember, he's whistling now, so people won't run away from him. He's whistling Beethoven and classical composers, so he will off-put people into believing that he is too cultured to mug. And then says, in my equivalent of the cowbell that hikers wear when they know they are in bear country. So he's whistling as he makes the comparison of bear country to the world that he lives in, because these women are afraid, and he's afraid because he makes the assertion that fear plus weapons, which are available to our citizenry, can be fatal. So he is afraid as well, and they are afraid, and there's still this there's still this climate of oppression now. So I thought these three essays juxtaposed were interesting, and hopefully you did too. And this week you are writing the first draft of your second essay, of your theme essay, and I am excited to get your introductions and your thesis statements this week too. That's due this week. So if you have questions, email me. Okay, bye.